then Danny, you said you had some listing optimization tips that you wanted to go into.
Yeah, I just got a short little presentation built up here about an overview of listing optimization and a lot of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're making their product photos or writing their listing. Okay, can you guys see my screen here?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so this was thrown together in like 2 seconds, so excuse the really ugly looking presentation, but it's going to just be the basics of what I see most people doing wrong with their listings. I've seen, like, we get hundreds of people coming to us over the last couple of years just with, here's our listing and how can we make it better? So it's just based off of all that experience. So this one on the left here, what makes a good online listing? So obviously the main image, you can see that's really crisp and clear, takes up most of the space here. You can tell this guy knows what he's doing. He has a lot of different keywords in his title, which is not necessarily a good thing, but he's obviously spent a lot of time optimizing this, right? He's got these check marks sticking out here. And then over on the right side, this is a really big brand, KitchenAid. You see them all over the stores. They have one image. They have
I always laugh about that. I always laughed about the big brands. The big brands are the worst.
Totally. A lot of them have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, clueless on Amazon. Sorry to interrupt. I just had to laugh because this is literally what I say every time. It's perfect. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no worries. And yeah, it's unfortunate because a lot of sellers, they see these big brands with the really simple listings and they see that it's working and they just assume that, oh, I should make my product listing like this too. When really it's working in spite of that. It's only because they have a big brand name behind it.
Exactly. My one I always use is Stanley Tools. Go look up some of Stanley Tools listings and I just shake my head every time. I'm like, oh man, that's why we destroy you.
Oh, you know, it's funny. I think there's actually a Stanley Tools thing later on in this presentation.
Perfect. Yeah. They have bad listings.
Oh yeah, I think I use them as a photo example. But yeah, they obviously have not filled out much. They got a few keywords in the title only. Really important to have the keyword phrases that you're targeting in your title, like two or three main phrases. There's really not much information over here. And then photos is a super important thing too. So this one on the left here, you can clearly see everything that's going on. One mistake a lot of people make with the main image is they take it from a direct top-down view, like it's two-dimensional or something like that. If there's multiple things like there is in this image, they're just going to take a head-on view when it usually looks a lot better to take it at about a 15-degree angle and multi-layer it. You can see here some stuff is in the background, some stuff is in the foreground. That typically looks way better instead of most people that have the box takes up like a third of the entire image because they have a head-on view of it, and then they have the main part of the product is like taking up 20% of the image somewhere over on the left side or something like that. That's just not a good way to do it, right?
Yeah, that's a good point too. Is the other thing I see all the time is the cropping. Like people leave too much white space around. You want to get your image as big as possible because it'll pop better. So like, in this case, you would want to crop as close to the edges as possible. To make sure that product is as big and crisp as possible from the search screen.
Oh, absolutely. And it's super easy on these white background images to just get this little either a graphic shadow or graphic reflection effect done. Just go to clippingpathindia.com. I think it costs like 50 cents an image or something like that. And someone will put on this graphic reflection effect. Really makes it pop out against a white background, especially with your main image. You really want to do something like that. Yeah. Actually, it was Black & Decker, not Stanley Tools here.
Close enough, though. Yeah, they're about the same.
Yeah. Another big thing is a lot of people, I don't think, understand good lighting versus bad lighting. So this is an example that a lot of people would look at the bottom one just by itself, and they'd probably say that it's good lighting. But when you look at it compared to the one above it, the Black & Decker, it doesn't look very good, right? It looks kind of dull. It just looks really bland. And you got to think that the lighting doesn't have to look good just in the photo by itself. The lighting has to look good against a pure white background, because it's really going to look dull if it's not really good against a pure white background. It's going to look especially dull. So make sure that you use professional studio lighting, because that's really the only way you're going to get that look like this photo above here, that it just really pops, right? It looks professional. The one on bottom is not necessarily like terrible lighting, but it definitely doesn't pop. It just looks like it's sitting there kind of like a meh kind of lighting, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like almost not really blurry, but yeah, it's very dull. Something that you can do if you get somebody who's pretty solid with Photoshop, they could actually make the bottom one look a little bit more like the one on the top. But like you said, the when you take the photo or when you get the photo done, like the raw photo, the better quality the raw photo is, the better quality the processed photo is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's different levels of salvageable. You can always get someone to literally do a rendering on top of your product, but
Right.
I mean, that's, you know, you don't want to be doing that. That
Yep.
can cost a lot for someone to do it really well, and it's just not going to look as good initially. Another thing is graphic design photos. A lot of people make the mistake, like the guy on the right, where they have so much text on here, and you can't, like, I'm on my 17-inch laptop screen right now, and I can't even really read what's going on here. I can't really tell what's going on here. There's too much information. And especially on a mobile screen, if I clicked to zoom in on my mobile screen, I would not be able to read this at all. I would have to click to zoom in and then pinch it and then scroll around to see what's going on. And such a small amount of people are going to actually do that you're missing out on a huge opportunity. Whereas the one on the left, very clearly you can see what's going on in this image. Even if it's on my tiny mobile screen, I could see, oh yeah, okay, it's a 17-ounce bottle, it's this size. You can clearly see the bottle. There's not way too much stuff going on. And so that's one of the biggest mistakes to see with the graphic design images. If there's text on the screen, as a rule, it should be readable on a small mobile screen. And then that means that there's not too much text on there that is well optimized.
Yeah, and like you said,
yeah,
the other good thing about that photo too is it's they have the background blurred, and you know in that type of photo is really good because you're bringing the focus back to the product. So you got the foreground and the product super ultra crisp and clear, and then you got the fade in the background with the text over the fade, which that's a really really good effect.
Totally, it looks so professional that way. And to get that, you need a camera with a shallow depth of field or a really low f-stop. So talk to your photographer about shallow depth of field or low f-stop if you're looking for something like that.
Yeah. And you can also build you can hire somebody to build that image, but you could also do that fairly easily as long as the starting image is good. And like Canva, we use Canva to build images like that a lot, which works really well and it's free.
Totally, yeah. You could get the background removed, like clipped out for like 50 cents by something like Clip and Path India, and then you could layer it against the beach in the background or something. You don't have to go to the beach and get hire a photographer for $1,000.
Right. Yep. You can use Pixabay and grab a super nice like lifestyle image, and then Photoshop it in.
Absolutely. And the lifestyle images here. So a few things. We just talked about this shallow depth of field, making it a blurry background. Like you can see there, you can see the bicycles in the foreground, but all the competitors are in the background here. And one of the most difficult things about lifestyle images that I think is super important is you want to be able to tell a story. And the story you want to tell is you want the buyer to be able to envision themselves receiving the benefit of the product. So what are you trying to show? What benefit are you trying to show with that lifestyle image? A lot of people, they'll just show a picture of, oh, hey, here's a model, and they're holding the product next to their face and looking into the camera. And it just, I cringe every time I see that. It's like, why didn't you just put the product on a table and it's going to be just as good of a photo, right?
Yeah.
So having the model actually enjoying the main benefit. Yeah, it's weird. It looks so off.
Yeah, totally. It looks super like a Stephen King like a TV show or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So like using the model, actually they should be in the act of receiving the main benefit that you're trying to highlight in the photo. Plan it out in ahead. What benefits do you want to show off in the lifestyle images, and then actually get that shot. And the last thing I'd mention about that is just focus on the product too. You see a lot of people, it's just like the products, you can't even really see it in the photo, and the model's like, maybe the model looks really hot or something, but the product is not a focus of the thing. And people they want to buy the product. They don't want to look at pictures of hot models. Plenty of better places to do that on the internet than Amazon.
Yeah, totally.
Keep it to Amazon.
Hey, one quick thing to go to, Danny, when somebody's asking. So in a previous slide, there was like the green check marks in the bullet points. Those are UTF-8 characters. So if you just search like UTF-8 emoticons, you can usually find stuff to do that. Now, warning on those, I know tons of people on Amazon do it. Just be careful because technically that can be against TOS. I haven't heard of anyone ever getting in trouble for that. But don't be surprised if, Amazon usually has like something they crack down on. They pick like, in January, we're going to crack down on the green check marks in product listings, or, the UTF-8 characters in product listings. So you can do that. Just be careful that, you could be a target for Amazon, if you do that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like, we do that in all of our client listings, and literally have never had a problem with that. And that's hundreds of listings. So
yeah.
I think it's pretty safe. Certain ones won't work. You just got to use the right ones. Copy and paste it from Google or something.
Yep. And make them relevant. Like we use them on a couple of ours as well. And one of ours is like an outdoor product. So we have like little camp UTF characters on each bullet point, like be creative with those things. Cause there's so many out there that will actually make the listing look cool. And I think that's why Amazon's not cracking down on it, because if it's irrelevant and actually like brings attention to stuff, like, I don't think they care that much.
Yeah, exactly. And the bullet points look so bland anyways. You got to make something stand out, right? Yeah. And one of the last things we're talking about here is to be benefit driven, not feature driven. And this is something a lot of people, they think they understand, but they don't understand to the extent that they probably should. So a feature is what something is, and a benefit is what something does. So for example, let's use the example of a microfiber towel. So it's made of microfiber. That's a feature, but soaking up 4 times the water of a regular towel with half the bulk is a benefit. So how did we get from point A to point B there? The ask why 3 times method. Most people stop at 1 or 2 levels. It's like, okay, so why is this good? Oh, it's good because it's made of microfiber and it's more absorbent. So they stop there, and that's their main benefit. But really, we should be going 2 layers deeper. So why is it good that it's more absorbent? That's good because it's faster to dry things off. Well, why is that good? Well, it gives you more fun time by reducing your boring chore time. So that is getting a little bit too far away from a microfiber towel. So we got to tie it back again. So that's how we came to the soaking up 4 times the water of a regular towel with half the bulk right there. It's tying that core benefit back to the actual product. So don't stop at only 1 layer deep, go 2 layers deeper. And this stuff applies not just to your Amazon listing. Do this for the headlines of your Facebook ads. Do this anywhere you're talking about your product. If you can actually find the real core benefit, it's way more powerful than saying something like it's made of microfiber or it's more absorbent than other towels, because people can make those connections in your brain. You want to make that super deep connection in their brain that is better than they can articulate it themselves.
Yeah, you want them to envision that they're using the product. Or enjoying the product.
Totally. And the last slide that I have here, just optimize for the right keywords. So if you're not indexing for a search phrase, you're not going to show up in the search results, right? So you want to be optimized for the right keywords. Identify the top keyword search phrases. Keyword research by Viral Launch is fairly good. Obviously, Andy's got Seller SEO. It's a good tool as well. Honestly, keyword research by Viral Launch, I have some qualms with it these days. I wrote this slide a little while ago. I do have some qualms with that. So I'd honestly rescind that recommendation for keyword research. We still do use it, but we do use other keyword tools as well. Write 2 to 3 of the most important phrases into the title. Any more than that, really, and it starts to become keyword stuffy. We found 3 search phrases in phrase order. So that means like barbecue gloves, heat resistant, for example, if that was a phrase in that exact order. And then test the indexing. This actually doesn't really work anymore, typing the keyword plus the ASIN into the Amazon search bar. I would use a tool out there that has some other methods of checking the indexing. That used to be the way to do it. And the last thing, don't keyword stuff, right? Don't just put a million things into the title. This is an example below. Try to read through this. House smile, BBQ gloves, heat resistant rubber black cooking glove, silicone grilling glove for kitchen pizza cooking, meat shredding cloth, silicone brush, super value of 4 barbecue accessories. It's just no one can understand what's going on there, right? It looks like some Chinese seller who's just like blasted a listing up there, and it looks bad on your brand, right? So that's pretty basic as far as optimizing keywords, but right there, if you just do those things, you're gonna avoid a lot of the mistakes that people make.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add on that, Danny, I don't know how you do it, but like, and this is kind of how, if people use our listing lightning tool, we've kind of built that in to the process. That tool actually like uses the process that we used to do manually to optimize listings. But for us, so like, for example, if you use those 3 phrases in the title, you want to make sure that you repeat those phrases. We found 3 to be the magic number as well. Not only in the title for phrases, so like, 3 separate phrases in the title, like Danny was talking about. But then like going into the bullet points and the description, like if we have like 3 phrases that we're super targeting and we're like, we know that those 3 phrases are going to bring us the most conversions and are the most relevant, we make sure that we list them 3 times throughout the listing, besides the title. So like it would be in the title, then we do it in at least 2 bullet points, possibly 3, and then at least 1 time in the description. You can test, that theory differently. But once again, just like the title, bullet points are also ranked by what comes first. So you want to try to make those phrases come earlier in the bullet points, but you also don't want to overdo it and make it like the first one in like every single bullet point, because it'll just look spammy and weird. But try to work those important phrases in throughout the entire listing. That's going to make a huge difference in relevancy and where you show up in search.
Yeah, we actually have the exact same rule. The top 5 main search phrases have to show up in at least 3 sections of the listing. And for each one of those listings, actually now it is the subject matter keywords. All of those are going to be in exact phrase order in the subject matter. I interviewed Kevin King a little while ago for the Actualize Freedom podcast. It's actually coming out on a Wednesday, his episode. And he mentioned this is something that he does with all of his products. He, according to what he's seen, subject matter is the number 2 field when it comes to importance of where to put your keywords after the title. So that's pretty powerful, right? So that's why he puts his top keyword phrases in phrase order in the subject matter. Yep. As well.
Yeah, we do that as well, and we actually use that we use the subject matter, especially for special events. So like Christmas holiday, we put all our Christmas stuff in there, and then same thing with like any holidays or things like that. Like stuff that might not make sense in the listing, but is ultra relevant in the wider audience that you're targeting or that could be targeting. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. I've seen that as well. That the subject keywords are ultra relevant and do have a lot of weight in terms of search for Amazon, at least at this point. They're always changing it though, so who knows, right? Who knows what it's going to be next week?
Yeah, this week, that's the way to do it.
Yep. Yep. That's a good point though too. Something else to think about when you're building these listings is go back to these listings, like put it as part of your process. Maybe do processes that have like expiration dates, and a lot of these tools will do that for you. Like Podio, like you were saying, Podio, maybe Podio has like something where you can kick back after like 2 weeks or whatever back into the queue, and maybe just even have a VA or something like that. Go through and look at the listing, and update the listing once in a while too. Now, generally, if you're like killing it on your listing, a lot of people don't mention this, but if you're like doing super well on your listing, it's continuing to climb, you're building rank, everything's going well, generally you don't want to touch it. Because if you change something, a lot of times Amazon will re-index it, and all of a sudden you'll see your ranking plummet. Now, that's kind of frustrating, because sometimes you're like, oh, I've got this great new way to like target, this product, or I thought of a different audience I can market this to, which is great and all, but only do that if you're on the decline. If you're steadily increasing or doing really well on that product, don't touch the listing. Like we had one of our best selling items, that's kind of a big holiday item. We didn't touch it since last year. It did so crazy last year that we literally did not touch that listing. And this Christmas we did, like last Christmas we ran out of stock. This Christmas we like made sure we had a ton of stock, and we ended up going through the entire holiday without running out of stock, which was awesome. And the listing just did that much better this year. So we're not going to touch it again. And the next year it's probably going to do the same thing, unless we start seeing a decline. You generally don't want to touch the listing.